good. Could you briefly introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure, thank you. Hey everyone, my name is Valeyo, co-founder and lead over here at Quasar. Born and raised in Germany, but I'm Slavic.
Thank you. What was the first coin that you bought? When was it, and why did you buy it? Do you remember? Can you remember the first coin?
Absolutely. It was Bitcoin. That was the first thing I ever bought, like most people, I think, on blockchain.com. And fun fact, it was so long ago that the way to buy it was you went on the website, you said you want Bitcoin, and then they just told you where to send money on a bank account, and then you just put in your address.
Oh, wow.
There was no account, there was no email, there was no like KYC. It was just send money here, and then we'll send you Bitcoin there.
Wow. You had an interesting matchup with Zaki at OSMOCON. How was the experience?
Wild, honestly wild. I've heard contradicting statements about what people thought it was. Some people said it was cringe to have a fight in the boxing ring. I thought it was awesome, honestly.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Like, coolest crypto community ever. I've never fought in my life before. I mean, like, besides a little bit of like brawls, but not really, not like a ring fight. And I loved it. The excitement was huge. There were like 600 people watching. Which, like, that's not a small amount of people. It was like filled up crowd. And then the music and the spotlights on you felt like this is a real fight and someone's about to get hurt. You were in this ring and there was only like such a tunnel vision. Like I remember Zaki's eyes looking at me. It's like so intense. Obviously, this matchup against Zaki, you could argue if that was fair, but I didn't decide that. I just want to specify this very clearly. I was supposed to fight someone else. They chickened out. They didn't want to fight me. So then, the organizers thought it would be fun to have the Vault Boys fight. So, but it was great. I respect the shit out of Zaki for fighting. Yeah, and I respect him a lot. He did not have to do this, and he just came and showed up, and it was great. Yeah.
Thank you. Can you give us a brief introduction to Quasar and its role as a DAM, appchain in Interchain ecosystem?
Yeah, gladly. So, Quasar has seen pretty early on that IBC can be much more than token transfers. So with the evolving of ICQ and ICA and, now our smart contracts, we realized, okay, you can actually do a lot of stuff through IBC, especially on the smart contract side. And I think one of the earliest issues that we at Quasar identified was just fragmentation of user experience and generally fragmentation of capital, just literally fragmentation everywhere, which is the opposite of aggregation, which is what makes Ethereum so successful so far. And so, we set out to build the best aggregator for yield opportunities using IBC as the infrastructure layer. Cosmos has a lot of very unique challenges, such as not one underlying token that gets all the value. So on Ethereum, it's Ethereum, Polkadot, right, Solana. We don't have that. Atom is not the same for us. And so you have to look at the ecosystem in a very different perspective if you want to offer people best yield opportunities. And the only way to do that is to build out IBC infrastructure. And the best way to do it is with your own app chain, because then we can design the entire experience and the entire chain to do just that. So Quasar really sees itself as a gateway to IBC-enabled yield, as kind of preferably in the future the one-stop shop for people for anything yield regarded in all of Cosmos. And also beyond Cosmos, as IBC moves away from Cosmos, we now have Polkadot IBC, we're going to have Ethereum IBC. And, the backbone of what we do and why, people are wondering why is there only 2 vaults on the platform right now, it's because we are building out IBC infrastructure, and that's really hard, and it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And if we want to build complex DeFi infrastructure on IBC, we need a lot of testing, and we need to do a lot of stuff to get there. And Quasar really sees itself as the main driver for smart contract IBC development, and to really figure out how we can combine user experiences, even though our interchain is so disorganized.
Right. Thank you. That was great. Can you talk about the importance of Quasar being an app chain? What advantages does this bring to users compared to being on a WASM chain like Osmosis or Neutron?
Yeah, gladly. So for Osmosis and Neutron specifically, Osmosis is really working on becoming an interchain hub, but they're also still primarily a DEX, right? And so Cosmos, for instance, is permissioned in Osmosis,
right,
which means that you have to pass governance to get a contract on Osmosis. And I think the difference there is that a lot of the products that Osmosis can make Osmosis better should not sit on Osmosis. For instance, some of our vaults, actually all that are live right now, are only on Quasar trading on Osmosis without being deployed there, which means we didn't have to pass governance. We didn't have to do anything on deployment on the Osmosis side. However, our new vaults that are going to come up, such as the CL vaults, we'll talk about this later, are actually outpost models, so they are going to be deployed on Osmosis. So I think compared to Osmosis, the mission is just very different. You know, Osmosis was focused on DEX, is now spreading out. We are focused on yield aggregation. Osmosis is one of the destinations. Neutron, on the other hand, is a general purpose chain. They want to have an entire DeFi infrastructure on them. That's very different from what we do, because I'm going to expect Neutron to have permissionless Cosmosm, because there's no applications that they would want on their chain, that they would not want on their chain, right? And so Neutron, being a general purpose chain, is really just trying to be a DeFi hub, which means they're going to have their own DEX, their own NFTs, their own lending protocol, their own borrowing protocol. They're going to have all of that stuff on Neutron. Our philosophy compared to Neutron is a bit different, which is that we think the interchain is the value, which is not to say one of them is better than the other, but the use case and what we are focusing on is really connecting the interchain.
Right.
So the benefit for being an app chain in Quasar's case is that, first of all, the Quasar token immediately has much more value, in the sense that it's a governance token, it's also a token that secures the interchain, it's also a token that's going to decide what the treasury invests into, which in a lot of other projects is relatively relevant. But in Quasar's case, being that almost all our products are going to be yield products and investment products, suddenly becomes really important to see how you manage the on-chain treasury and how Quasar holders want their Quasar tokens and other tokens in our treasury to be used across the interchain. Quasar's role is also more of one that augments and improves other chains, because we're almost not going to have any TVL on Quasar. We're going to have assets under management, AUM, on Quasar, but all the TVL is being sent to another chain. Right? So we are helping other chains. Other chains want to work with us because we're not competing with anyone else. We actually need good interchain products to build good yield opportunities. So Mars, Yumi, Osmosis, any of those, we are sending them yield. So our role is much more one of improving existing products and connecting them, less so than, you know, another DeFi hub that's trying to be better than the other DeFi hubs. If that makes sense.
That's cool. Yeah, makes sense. How does Quasar enhance the user experience, especially for beginners venturing into the world of asset management, decentralized asset management?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of my answer is going to be forward-looking of where we're really trying to go. Because as I've mentioned before, right, the IBC infrastructure we're building right now is so novel and so new that we keep hitting edge cases which cause not perfect user experience, to be quite honest. That's why we have on our front end, it says this is an early stage project. You know, we want to be very honest on that front. For instance, right now we disabled our front end because an upgrade on Osmosis caused our ICQ contract to have an issue, for example. This is not great user experience. However, what already makes this great in user experience is that with one click into your vault, you suddenly deposit into 3 LP pools on Osmosis and auto compound your rewards, and you get Quasar rewards with one click. So that's already, 2 clicks once you're on the platform, but 1 click into the vault. With packet forwarding middleware that Skip is, working with us on, we're going to be able to take any asset on any IBC chain that has packet forwarding middleware enabled, and 1 click deposit into the vault, even if it's the wrong asset, which means also swap it with 1 click. All into, literally, this is going to be the best user experience ever, because you're not even going to understand that there's different chains. It's going to feel like one app. When it comes to vault creators, right now you need to be a smart contract developer. But a lot of our roadmap and what we're working on is really to target normal users being able to create their own portfolios, whether that is just a mix of different tokens or a mix of actions such as staking or LPing, and really get to a point where it feels like Apple shortcuts, if you ever use the app, and kind of building your own script. Again, most of our team is obsessed with product and obsessed with user experience, and most of us don't like how long crypto has kind of taken to improve that, which is not to say that we're improving. I mean, we're massively improving. Actually, at OSMOCON and just generally this week in Paris, we've seen so many new things that make user experience better. Mintscan 2.0, that helps with user experience. And so we think that when a market gets more mature, such as Cosmos right now in crypto as a general market, it gets harder and harder to capture value the more competitive it becomes to capture value.
Right.
And once you get to that stage, you need a disconnect between asset managers, the professional people, and the normal people that don't have time to maybe, invest all day, every day, or look into the charts every day, or really go into the material of when to exit, when to entry. And once that disconnect is reached, which we are there right now, in my opinion, DeFi summer is over. It is hard to get yield. it makes sense to combine it on a decentralized platform, and that's what we're doing at Quasar. It allows you to have best-in-class strategies without having to manage them every single day.
Thank you. Wow. What upcoming features or updates can users expect from Quasar?
Yeah, so the biggest thing, which thankfully now that we passed the governance proposal on Osmosis for whitelisted addresses, CL Vault, constant liquidity. CL severely complicates the experience of DEX liquidity providing because there's so many more layers of what you can do with it, which means there's so many more layers to screw up and like not make yield and like really not outperform the market.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look at V3 statistics on Uniswap, most people are losing money on the market. It's very complicated to LP. So CL Vaults are super exciting because we're going to have a professional strategy team. We're still working on the contract, so we won't leak the name, but we have a really good team ready to work with us on creating strategies for users on CL, that's going to be incredible because then it's not going to be just a user experience improvement, but also yield improvement. Number two, as I've mentioned before, we work with Skip right now to do one-click deposit into our vault with any asset on any chain that has PFM. That is incredible. Like that's going to feel so magical for people because it's not one click to our chain, it's literally one click into the vault.
That's nice.
Which is that's going to really improve the user experience, I think, in my opinion. The index strategy, which we talked about, the S&P 500 of Cosmos, the IBC index, not called IBC, called QIT, is going to be launching as well. We are working and waiting a little bit on more IBC improvements and also expansion because right now we are kind of reaching this late bear market, in my opinion, where a lot of Cosmos chains are going to become irrelevant in the next half year. Whether or not that sounds sad or harsh, I truly believe that. And I think it's going to be really valuable to wait a couple more months to really see where the market matures in IBC and to see which aspects and which kind of chains we want to be exposed to before we release an index. So index is coming up. And then we have one secret thing on the roadmap, which I won't talk about, but that is actually the most exciting of all.
Thank you. I'm really excited. So for the Korean Web3 community who are especially interested in Quasar, how do they get started and what resources are available to them?
Yeah, so we don't have anything specific in Korean yet. However, first of all, Cosmostation interview. I think that's a good starting point. Your local community, always support them. We got a Twitter, which is Quasar.fi. I think you're going to link it up. Probably our Twitter is like the one-stop shop. We have the link to the website. On the website, you have the Discord link. You have all the different links. I think we may have some Korean community members. So maybe there's a Korean channel on Discord where you can ask questions in Korean. But most of our content for now is English. If there's enough demand on the Korean community side, maybe we'll expand that way. You're going to have to let us know. But for now, it's all English, but you're going to find it on the website, on Twitter, on Discord, all the normal stops. And from those guys, Sarangheo, Cosmostation.